Good evening and welcome to SPORLITIKS, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, and my cousin Todd. We have a full show for you this evening. The Federal Reserve leaves interest rates unchanged despite a stubborn inflation. Dozens of injured Palestinians, including Americans, have left Gaza and arrived to hospitals in Egypt. NASCAR with Stephen and Speaker of the House Michael Johnson tests his new power with a risky gamble on Israel. James Harden has left the building, that's the Philadelphia 76ers building, to go to the LA Clippers or Paperclips as he sits waiting for the deal to finalize. The FBI director, Christopher Wray, warns about threats to Americans from those inspired by the Hamas attack on Israel. The World Series continues without the Philadelphia Phillies. Their loss. The Texas Rangers lead the Arizona Diamondbacks 3-1 as the game starts tonight at 8:03 p.m. President Biden has a primary Democratic challenger, Dean Phillips. Do you know who he is? We'll talk about him. In college football, how's your team doing? My Auburn Tigers won. As guns in the United States outnumber people. Can you believe that? So Associated Press examines our nation trapped in its cycle of gun violence. The amendment versus the commandment. Do guns belong in churches? I can't wait to hear what Keith has to say about that. Do you remember the NFL? Well, I do, and especially our Eagles. We'll talk about how your team is doing in week 8. Round by round, Tyson Fury knocked down and beat Francis Ngannou. But my question is, did he really? We'll get comments from our resident former professional boxer, Stephen. That and more, if we can fit it in. First up, Stephen with NASCAR.
Well, how one race can change everything. Look, okay, wait, real quick. This is my costume that I had yesterday, and it could be one of 3 people if you're kind of astute with what's going on in like different genres of the world. But if you can guess, but I can't leave these glasses on because it's a little hard on me with the light and everything. Sorry, I'm being a child. But
well, wait, we don't know who the costume was.
Right now, no, you got to guess by the end of the show.
Okay.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right, I'll put it back on later. Who'd he say? What'd you say?
Never mind. No.
What did he say?
He said Jeffrey Dahmer.
That's exactly right. That's what
Wow.
That's Todd. You are. I knew you were astute. You were right on time, man. Look at the glasses. Come on, man. How crazy is that? No, but it's really. I didn't go with that. I didn't go with Dahmer, but that was one of the 3 people that I had picked out with these glasses. I just found them in this house. So they're not my glasses. But that was good, Todd. That was really good. All right, let's get back to racing. This is the last race. It's going to be Phoenix. Blaney won Martinsville, which was amazing because I said, Bell just came off a win. He just had a win the week before. He's going to his best track. He's going to win it all. Nope. Now we have Blaney in the lead, and they're going to Phoenix. They were at Martinsville, and now they're going to Phoenix. Well, guess who has the best record at Phoenix for the last maybe 7-8 races is Kyle Larson. He averages 8th.
Hey, I wanted Todd to guess.
Guess what?
NASCAR. Who had the best record in NASCAR for the last 7 races, Todd? Who was it?
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Charles Barkley.
Close. It was Evel Knievel, but that was really close.
Yeah.
So Kyle Larson is the best, but Blaney is the second best. Larson is averages at 8. Blaney averages a 9.3, which is really, really close. So anybody can win this. Whoever wins this race wins the championship. It comes down to it. This is for the whole enchilada, and it's going to be really interesting. And it's going to be enough to drag me away from the NFL for a little while to watch some racing and see what happens. See who wins the championship. I do hope after everything's settled, all the dust is settled and everything else, that Kyle Larson does win. He's won it before, but he's a really great guy. He's great for racing. Everybody loves him. So if he wins, it's gonna be a party all over the country because nobody dislikes him. He's like Dale Earnhardt Jr. kind of guy. Everybody is cool with him. So if he wins, but if anybody wins, they win, and they're all good guys. But I would like Kyle Larson to win. But we'll see what happens. That's what I'm gonna put my nickel on.
All right. So as you're putting your nickel on that, you want to talk about how in the world that guy, Tyson Fury, beat him looking the way he did in that boxing match. And then we'll go to Cousin Todd because Todd thinks he knows a little bit about boxing too. But you're our resident former professional boxer, Steven. So tell us, how did he win that?
Tyson Fury is a beast. He's a freak of nature. These guys come along every now and then. Like Tyson was a freak of nature. George Foreman, Ali. These are just freaks. He happens to be one of the freaks, and he got knocked down and he got rocked. You could see his head. You could feel it. It looked like a huge baseball bat swung by Bo Jackson was hit in the side of his face and he went down. This is tremendous that he even got up, that he wasn't knocked out, and he come back to win the fight. It's always going to be controversy with boxing. We all know this. This goes back 100 years or more. The boxing can be really screwed up like that. But I think right now, Tyson Fury is the best boxer that we have right now, pound for pound. Even the little guys, big guys. He's just something about him is out of this world. So, if you don't think he won, maybe he did.
I don't think he won. So, Cousin,
okay.
I'm sorry. I don't want to.
Everybody's got a viewpoint and a perspective, and I appreciate yours because I can see where you're coming from too, Stacey. On that, exactly.
Well, when I saw him, so Cousin Todd, when I saw him, Fury get knocked down, and like you said, Stephen, it looked as if that was a pretty good. He hit pretty hard. Well, he didn't hit as hard as much. It looked like he was tired. He looked like he didn't have that much strength in him. And when he got knocked down like that, Cousin Todd, I thought he was going to take a few more knockdowns. He wasn't just going to be out, but he was going to take a few more knockdowns and then lose it. But Cousin Todd, why didn't he?
Well, I think Apollo Creed really won that fight.
Yeah.
He did get knocked down, but he got right back up. Sort of like Rocky.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means Todd did not watch the fight. Stephen, Keith, anything for you? You're on mute.
Yeah. From a perspective of one, I used to I've boxed and I've done all that. I used to compete in martial arts, and I got out of it because of the pounding. I mean, people can only take so much to the head. And this guy, I don't care how tough you are, strong you are. You know what I mean? I think Todd would agree with me on that. I mean, concussions and stuff. They always talk about concussions with football players, but they don't talk about concussions with boxers. These guys.
They always talk about concussions with boxers.
Oh, they do? Oh,
don't
okay.
They, Steven?
Well, it's much worse with.
But they don't make movies. They don't make movies about it and stuff. I don't. Yeah, I guess it's just everybody's going to take hits to the head. If we're going to have sports, you're going to take hits to the head. It's going to be bad. So for some people, it's going to be worse than others. Some people have brains that are so strong that it takes so much of a beating and it can still go on. But some people are born with a brain that they can't take too much. Maybe a slap in the face and they can't hardly talk anymore. So it's everybody's. Okay. Yeah, that's right, Keith. Everybody's an individual.
Like
okay.
No, I wasn't casting any aspersions on any of it, buddy here.
Okay, boxing, of course, is much more brutal than say baseball or soccer. Anyway, boxing.
Baseball to the head. baseball to the head.
I didn't know that Keith was in boxing. I knew Stephen was, but now I understand why you people think the way you do.
Too many hits to the head. You're right, Todd. We're not going to argue with you on that. We had too many hits to the head. But you know what it did? It knocked some sense into us, really.
Right. Is that what your mother said?
Thank you,
That's
Stephen.
what she still says, even though she's been gone for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, watch it, Todd.
No, I talk to her in my dreams. No, I talk to her in my dreams.
Yeah, we have some breaking sad news. If you can look at the screen right there.
Oh no.
Remember him? Even
Yeah.
Todd may remember him.
Yeah, he's cool.
Bobby Knight,
Yeah.
basketball coaching great,
Mhm.
dies at age 83.
Well, that's a
Wow, he
good
looked good.
long
Breaking
life.
news on
Yeah.
ESPN.com.
Well, he was younger in this picture. He was not 83 in this picture.
Right.
Okay.
So does anyone talk about, does anyone talk about how they remember Bobby Knight and what type of coach he was? He was a little bit like, who's that guy who plays McEnroe, who plays
John
tennis?
McEnroe.
That's how Bobby Knight was. I remember for Indy, what type of coach he used to be. Does anyone want to talk to Bobby Knight and what type of coach you remember him being?
Yeah, I would, because he was exciting. He was fun. I mean, he was crazy and it was hard. But you know, he was a winner, and he pushed everybody to the limit, and he was crazy and he went nuts. And McEnroe went nuts, and Tyson went nuts. And these people that go nuts is super entertaining. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I like Bobby Knight. He threw a chair across the chair that was on the side, or all the way across the basketball court. It's just nuts. But he was effective. But he was living the energy of that moment to the max. And sometimes people do that, and sometimes people don't. But if you live like that, I'm amazed he lived to be in his 80s to be that intense. He must have really relaxed when he got older and chilled out more and went to the beach a lot or something, or took nice trips somewhere. I don't know. But he was wild and crazy, but it was still entertaining, and it was
passionate.
Fun. Yeah, it was passionate.
Aguna.
Yeah.
Maybe Aguna knows. Aguna knows.
Breaking news, Bobby Knight, basketball great coach, dies at 83. Do you want to comment on how you remember him as a coach?
Yeah, I remember him as being just the face of Indiana basketball. He's, like Stephen was saying, he's very passionate. And not only Indiana basketball, but college basketball. You had, multiple coaches within the college arena, if you would. And Bobby Knight was one of the head coaches, along with some of the other notable ones from Duke and North Carolina. So, yeah, it's sad. Unfortunately, we're at the age where we're losing a lot of the greats. I know he was born probably in the 40s, probably. So you're getting, he lived a long, fruitful life. 83 is pretty good, but it still doesn't make it any less, just painful around just the fact that we're losing some of these greats that were born in the 40s. But yeah, he's a great guy, great coach, great player too. He was also a good player. I think he won the NCAA championship as a player, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so it's good. And of course, Indiana was always in the Final Four, especially like in the 80s and things like that. They were going to the Final Four pretty often. So he was definitely a legend that's going to be missed. Was he one of the most winningest basketball coaches? Was that one of the? I think I know he.
Probably. I think he had to be.
Yeah, we're losing the World War II generation is just about gone.
Yes, Bob Knight. He must have been, if he's 83, he was born 1940, and it says according to ESPN.com, he was the 6th winningest coach in Division I men's basketball, college basketball history, with 3 national titles at Indiana and one undefeated season, not since matched. And that's incredible to have an undefeated season in college.
Especially
Division I, we
basketball.
always talk about match. Yeah, we always talk about March Madness. You never know who's going to win and who's going to beat who. So, for him to do that is incredible. Cousin Todd, did you want to comment? You're on mute, cousin Todd.
Todd, come on.
I was just
need you.
glad when he won the World Series, and then he was a great coach. His team won a lot of hockey games, and I think he was just one of the great.
Todd, you're confusing people.
America first.
You're confusing people, Todd.
All right, our thoughts, prayers, and our heartfelt thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Bobby Knight. Let's start. I don't know if you guys remember. Let's start. Do you remember
Knight.
the NFL?
I thought it was Bobby Jindal. My bad.
Oh, wait.
The NFL is over this year. The NFL's over.
Before we go to the NFL, let's go to the NBA and Aguna. Let's start with that big Harden trade.
I mean,
you like it. You like it, Aguna. You like it, right?
Man, it's all right.
Come on.
I mean, I'm okay with the fact that he had to go. He had to go.
Yeah.
Harden is a disappointment, though, if you think about it in the grand scheme of the sport.
Right.
You look at the teams he went to and what they could have been versus what they turned out to be. Oklahoma, Houston, Brooklyn, Sixers, and now we'll see what this latest chapter with the Clippers is going to look like. But, I mean, at some point you got to say it's you. You know, it's not the owner, it's not the coach, it's not the player, it's you. The fact that you have to go and get bounced around and you're just basically quitting on the team and you're forcing this trade and you want to pout and all of those. I mean, yeah, good riddance. I mean, unfortunately, I think the Sixers had something good going last year going into the playoffs, but you saw how that fell apart, and Harden had a lot to do with that. So we'll see if you'll see how it plays out. But yeah, good riddance. We'll see. He's an LA problem now. We'll see if that chapter, if this book, because Harden hasn't won a championship. Now I think he hasn't won a championship. All these teams he's bounced around in, and even if he would have went to Brooklyn, I thought that was like a power team. You got Durant, Kyrie, Harden, you got these guys, and they still couldn't get it done. So we'll see. Hopefully the Sixers are doing pretty good this year. So, I mean, it's only a couple of games, but we'll see how it plays out.
We just started a couple games. Cousin Todd?
I disagree with Aguna. I think he was one of the greatest running backs there is. And now that he's been traded to the Flyers, you'll see. You're going to be sorry.
Todd, you're confusing people.
I'm confused.
Aguna doesn't even care because you know why? Aguna is on Dubai time. Aguna just returned safely. We're very happy he returned safely from Dubai. We couldn't tell anybody he was over there because we didn't want him to do anything to him.
Is that a porn site?
Dubai.
Yeah, wouldn't you wish, Ty? Wouldn't you wish? Right? No, it's not a porn site, Ty.
Hey, stay in America. Stay in America for a little while, man. Don't go out anymore. Stay around. They put a flying ban. World. They said stop flying abroad for just a minute. Let things kind of calm down a bit.
Over there for business or just vacation?
That's his biz.
No, I went over there for vacation. I went to go see the.
You don't have to tell me.
Not the pyramids, but what I would say. Did you go see the pyramids? No, I didn't go see the pyramids. I went to Dubai, Todd. And
I would not say that. Yeah. Stephen and Keith would say that.
Yeah, I had a friend that went out there and loved it. Loved it. Said it. The people who went over there said they had a camel. They had a camel as a pet.
Yeah, but I heard my friends went, and I heard,
and I did try some camel.
I heard that one soda is like $50.
It's very expensive. It's very expensive over there. One thing I know we're in the show, but one thing I will say, there's no crime. No crime. No homeless.
So you mean to tell me they don't have any type of gun control problems?
Nope. No crime whatsoever. I can leave my cell phone on the sidewalk, walk away, go down the street, and nobody will bother it. You can leave your car running and nobody will bother because there's no crime in Dubai.
I do that anyway.
Not.
Hey, I'll leave my cell phone. I'll leave my cell phone at the gym. I leave my cell phone at the gym. I come back every time it's there. You know, because it's not like I'm not talking about the West End or anything.
Well,
you know, there's not too much.
If you act up, if you don't have a job,
it's over.
There's no homeless. There's no begging for money on the street. It's if you're not productive part of society, they kick you out the country.
Oh, they send you here? They send you to America. If you're not productive, they send you to America.
Not there. I don't know about America, but they don't.
They say Saranara, you go to America.
And it's like an
How
honor
did
and a
you
privilege.
get here, Stephen?
Because it's only 15%.
They said Saranara, you go to America.
85% of the population is from expats from other places.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so if you aren't
So
contributing
it's
to
a big
society
desert,
or
right?
their economy, they're going to send you home. Yeah,
It's a big desert, right?
It's a desert.
Yeah, they take advantage of their oil.
Yeah.
They take advantage of their oil over there, like we should here, but we don't because we have bad management. Right now.
Actually, not in Dubai. Dubai is mostly tourism. So
Yeah,
Abu Dhabi
yeah,
is
but the oil
tourism.
around them keeps them going.
No, money from you keeps them going.
Money from me.
I mean, they sell oil, they don't buy it. You know.
Yeah. Well, we used to sell oil too, but they did a coup and they didn't let him win the an election.
What?
Okay, thank you. Let's move on.
We used to distribute oil.
It's a global economy. We sell oil.
So Aguna, we are very happy that you and you made it back safely, and that was a blessing because it's pretty scary out there now. World Series tonight, 8:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You see the screen. The Texas Rangers will go against the Arizona Diamondbacks, who beat the Philadelphia Phillies. The Texas Rangers are leading the series 3-1. And the question is, how is Arizona, you think, going to be able to Diamondbacks come out of this hole?
They're
Anybody
not,
have a comment?
They're not going to come out this hole. They never should have been there to begin with. The Phillies
stole the game from us.
They stole the game, and part of it was, we did the biggest choke job. It was the biggest choke job since like the last game at the Vet. I mean, it's the biggest choke job since McNabb threw up in the Super Bowl and all that. It was just a complete, utter meltdown. It's probably one of the biggest choke jobs in Philadelphia sports history. And that's saying a lot because there's been a lot of choking in Philadelphia for a lot of times. But it took us back to just why Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, Sixer fans get so cynical and bitter when it comes to sports, because when things are lining up, when you got the whole city, everybody's behind you, everybody's excited, you're going up against this Arizona team that just doesn't have a chance. They don't have the hitting. They don't have, it's just like you should steamroll this team. And what happens? You're up 2 games. You're up 2 games, right? You go down and you even steal one in Arizona. So you have 2 games at home to close out the series, and you drop both of them. I mean, only in Philadelphia will a story or a tragedy play out that way in grand fashion. So
Aguna, why are we even talking about those games right now? Because that's not relevant. What about the World Series now? You don't think
that's what I'm getting.
But you don't think Arizona? You don't think Arizona can win? You don't think Arizona can win? They can win tonight.
So
they have better pitching. They can win tonight.
The Red Sox were the last team. Were the Red Sox the team that came back from who was it that came back? But that wasn't even in the World Series though. I thought that was in
No, Aguna, I'm sorry. I'm just talking about winning the game tonight. They can win the game tonight.
I'm talking about coming back.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Right.
I mean, I think they can win the game tonight.
Yes,
I don't think
that's all I'm saying.
the series though. I don't think they're going
right. Exactly. Yeah, I'll go along with that. But I was just talking about tonight. Yeah, right. You're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
They may steal another game.
I don't know if they're going to win it. Wait, Nas is on, but I don't know if they're going to win it because Dusty Baker told them that Dusty Baker's the manager from Texas Rangers, and he told them that he's going to retire after the season. So I think the Rangers are going to work really, really hard to get a win for Dusty before he gets out of there. Nas, or he's pretending to be Julio. Do you want to comment on the World Series?
Yeah. What do you mean? Dusty's with Houston. What do you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got it mixed up.
I don't know.
Let me look that up.
Yeah, I think so.
You
That's
don't
why I
know
was
what
like,
you're
wait a
talking
minute.
But
about.
that means
You
he
don't know
retired.
Everybody's
sports.
interchangeable. Everybody's
You
interchangeable. It
don't
don't
know
matter.
sports, Stacy. You have to learn sports before you come
He's
on this
always got to
show.
Oh,
hide
wait.
his identity.
Is baseball truly a sport?
So, okay, I'm sorry. Let's see. He just retired then. But I know I got the right about the retirement part.
Yeah, you
Right.
did.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
did retire, but I just got, because
Yeah,
you
don't
know
worry
why I
about it.
got him
Forget
mixed
about
up?
it.
I'm going to tell you why I got him mixed up.
Yeah,
Because
Forget about it.
both Texas teams were just playing each other before Philadelphia lost. So
mm,
I did get them mixed up. I apologize for that.
yeah,
But I knew Dusty Baker was retiring. And
right.
Todd, Dusty Baker does not use a hockey stick or a puck. So don't talk about people being confused about sports and you don't know what you're talking about. Bye-bye. Uh,
Well, y'all doing a lot. No, the Dusty thing is kind of sad just because he was getting a lot of pressure from Astros fans who are kind of unrealistic and weird about the most random game ever, which is baseball, meaning we see a team like we do right now, the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series, where statistically that should be impossible because they're not good, but somehow they made it happen. And they've been putting all this pressure on Dusty, even though Dusty basically came in and cleaned their reputation, because after that World Series they won with the trash cans and all of the cheating, Houston was being looked at in a certain way, and they had to bring Dusty and his reputation in to kind of clean that up. So it's ugly that they're kind of pushing him out the door to a certain degree. But man, that dude's already a Hall of Famer as a player, and with this chip he already has, maybe he gets in as a manager as well. So Dusty Baker, one of the greats, man, back when, black folks really like baseball.
So let me show for Cousin Todd. I'm going to show a picture of Dusty Baker because I know he doesn't have a clue about what he looks like. So this is what Dusty Baker looks like, Cousin Todd. But that's a younger picture. He doesn't
Oh,
look like
look.
that anymore.
Look.
That's a younger picture of him.
Yeah, he's wearing my glasses, man.
And just for cultural relevance, he was born in a day when you could get a nickname like Dusty, where if that was your nickname now, you would be fighting every day at school. Like if kids called you Dusty, that would be a serious accusation.
All right, let's move on to the most important sport in the world, the
Soccer.
NFL. Let's talk Aguna.
Yes. It is that week. It's Cowboy week. It's Dallas week. And this is where all Eagles fans are coming out of the woodwork and uniting under the hatred of the so-called America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, this is a big game. Big deal. And yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there to witness this thing. Because I got to lay eyes on and see exactly how this thing is going to play out. There's a lot of question marks going into this game, and like in many typical for most seasons, Cowboy fans are very confident. They're overrated. They're delusional. All those things because they think they're just going to come into Philadelphia and steamroll the Eagles because Cowboys have just been so phenomenal this year. They just destroyed the Rams, right? Now Dak Prescott went from being run out of town to, he's playing at this high Super Bowl level and all this other stuff. Week to week is something different. The 49ers game is forgotten about. Now it's all about, hey, he's proven himself. He's a leader. He's all this and that. So we'll see this. It's going to be a big game. I think it's going to be a good game. It's always a great game between these two teams.
Aguna, you don't have to paint yourselves as the underdog. Y'all played in the Super Bowl last year. Stop it.
But again, there's reality, and then there's the Cowboy fans and expectations. And those are two different things. And the NFL, and being the entertainment league that it is, plays to the cheap seats. They sit there and they make the Cowboys feel as if they're relevant because it's a moneymaker for them. And they're going into this game thinking that the Cowboys are playing at a high level and the Eagles aren't, even though the Eagles, they're beating teams they're supposed to beat. They're not beating them in grandiose fashion, but they're at least beating good teams. Miami is a good team, and the Eagles handled them, right? The Cowboys have not beaten a good team unless it's the Jets. which beat the Eagles. So therefore, in the Cowboys fans' mind, we beat the Jets. They beat the Eagles, even though the Eagles had to turn the ball over like 4 times, and Jalen Hurts played one of the worst games in his last 2 seasons.
Was that Miami? That last game? That last game when it was 17-17?
That was the Commanders, and you saw what happened. Now, mind you, in that game, and I haven't lit into Steven yet because I know he's giving up on the season, so I can't kick him while he's down. All right. But at the same time, the Eagles fumbled the ball twice inside the 5-yard line. All right. They fumbled the ball twice in the 5-yard line, and they still won the game. That typically does not happen when you turn the ball over like that, unless it's against the Commanders, because Howell was looking good early on. He was lighting it up. He was looking good. There was no way we could have stopped him. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I think, the Eagles defense finally woke up. They made a couple plays, and we got some turnovers in the Eagles. And then Vegas made the call, because you can't tell me, everybody says it's not rigged and all this other. What was the line on that game? 6.5, right? So the line on the game is 6.5. The Eagles go up up by 14 with less than a minute left in the game. And all of a sudden, Washington, who hasn't been driving the ball at all in the second half, drives down the field and gets a touchdown in like garbage time. Right. And now all of a sudden it's a push, right? And Vegas wins. Because the line was 6.5, and they come on.
Yeah, you're right.
I tell you.
You're right.
What does that mean for somebody like Cousin Todd?
Going on. There's some shenanigans going on. I know, Todd, this is over your head.
I'm not
interested. We're talking sports betting, we're talking football, and we're talking logically. Right. So it's like, I know you don't want to be part of the conversation.
Logically. Give me a break, Republican.
Sports makes a logical man like Aguna go to superstition all of a sudden.
It's not superstition. You just have to watch.
Vegas made the call, no, I don't care what you say.
You're right. You're right, Aguna. Aguna's right.
That they scored that touchdown for no reason.
Aguna's right. It's money. It's money.
Okay.
All money.
I want to ask about this game you're going to Sunday. This Sunday?
Yeah.
In Philadelphia. I am free Sunday. So where are you sitting? What kind of seats do you have?
You want to go to the game with me, Todd? You want to go?
I want you to buy me a ticket. You want to go to the game with me, Todd? I want you to buy me a ticket.
He can't buy a ticket now.
I may let you go and sit in one of my seats, but I may not. But you're gonna have to pay me some money, Todd. I know you got money. You got that Camel. I just came from Abu Dhabi. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I know camel when I see it, and that's a camel scarf you have wrapped around your neck.
Yes, I do.
In fact, it was probably some herdsman was riding that.
Abu Dhabi, it's Dubai. How do you get Abu Dhabi and Dubai?
They're right next to each other. They're all Emirates. They're all Emirates.
Also, you went to Abu Dhabi too?
Yeah, I went to Abu Dhabi. I went to Abu Dhabi to see one of the biggest mosques in the world.
You would do that if you're traveling overseas. You would one next to each other. Anyway, listen. If you're not buying me a ticket, I'm not going, and you would have to be sitting in some expensive seats.
Because of time, you don't want to go to that one, man. They're gonna have to open up that jail under the stadium again. This is Philly fans again now.
But no,
it is going to be very contentious, because I know a lot of Cowboy fans that are going, and they, for some reason, Eagles fans and Cowboy fans get beer muscles when they're in the stadium. It's like ancient Rome. They just want to pulverize each other.
Aguna and I have gone to. He has been nice enough to have me in his expensive seats.
Oh, good.
Between a Philadelphia and a Dallas game, and you know what Aguna did? He made friends with the Cowgirl fans.
Oh, wow.
Look, not all of us are bad. I mean, again, we can't control this stuff. We're here to be entertained. There's no reason why we
Santa Claus.
Y'all
have a good time. Have a good time. That's right.
We booed who?
Y'all booed Beyonce.
He didn't. He wasn't even born yet. That was like in the 70s. That was in the 70s.
That Santa Claus story is an urban legend. Okay, the Santa Claus.
It actually happened. Hey, but
Aguna, it was a Santa Claus impersonator, and they booed him because he was
Yeah,
drunk and he was acting bad. He was acting
right. It wasn't a real Santa Claus. It's not the real Santa Claus. That's right, Aguna.
Can we move on? Because you guys really aren't talking about. You guys are wasting my time.
He had a red
You're
suit
not
on.
talking. You're wasting my time.
But can I tell Aguna?
You're not
Aguna,
talking about football. You're wasting my time.
He wasn't the real Santa Claus. There's a
Stacey's
real
got a
Santa
lot
and
to
there's a
cover.
fake Santa. He was a fake Santa.
We got a lot to cover, and you guys have wasted my time.
can we still talk about football for a minute, Stacey?
Yeah, we got to talk about the Commanders and their
Let
fire
him
sale.
we gotta
talk
talk about the
football
Commanders.
quickly.
I
Go
mean,
ahead,
the Commandos.
Steven.
Hey, they almost beat the Eagles. They almost beat the Eagles twice this year. So that's something about it.
You don't
But
get rewards for almost. What does it mean?
I know, but I'm just saying. We got swept. That's fine. We got swept. We lost two great players. Well, Young's okay. He went to Frisco, and Sweat went to Chicago. So the game's over. So anybody that's got any survivor pool or whatever, bet against the Redskins. They've given up. They're just another team that gave up. Another team is Arizona. They gave up. But to piggyback on what you were saying, Laguna, earlier, watch out this week, because even the real sharp people love the Eagles this week. Everybody loves the Eagles. So much is on the Eagles. Watch out for Vegas and MGM and companies like that. They're going to take over, and they're going to make sure that Dallas either covers or wins. So just keep that in mind, because this game is the biggest game of the week.
I don't know if everybody's high on the Eagles, though, because the Eagles have struggled the last couple of games with turnovers and efficiency on offense. So I don't know if everybody's just – I think there's a lot of hype on the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb suddenly is this elite receiver. Dak Prescott now is playing lights out because he just destroyed the Rams.
That's not right. That's not right. That's garbage. That's what they want people to think. But what I'm saying is be careful. Be careful, because they might let Dallas – they'll at least let Dallas cover. So I'm probably going to take Dallas to cover.
Why do y'all watch the games if y'all think all of them are fixed? Why do y'all watch?
Because you can still make money on things that are fixed. You just have to go where the people who fix the games want them to go.
You gotta see where the script is going, right? So
you got to see where the script is going. It's happened. Hey, Aguna. You remember Miami won. Miami scored 70 points. The next week they lost. Another team did really well. They were the darling. They lost the next week. It happens every week because Vegas makes all the money, man.
Yes, it happens every week.
Lost 3 games in a row. They've lost 3 games in a row.
Yes,
now they make this blockbuster trade, and now all of a sudden they're still down there, even though they haven't won since almost September. They're like, okay, now they're the darlings again because of Chase Young, right? So,
but it's for the Eagles. It's for the Eagles to lose. It's all for the Eagles to lose right now.
Okay.
It's Eagles. You got it all set up for you right now.
You guys are like talking
the Eagles, let me just say this, Stacey. The Eagles aren't playing their best football, meaning they're not playing mistake-free, but they are finding ways to win because they're the best team in the NFL right now. They're 7-1. So even though they're not playing their best football, they are winning. Right, so we'll see going into this game how that translates. Because they can translate into playing up to their competition or playing down to their competition, but still, even in the Jets game, which they lost, they had opportunities to win. They just didn't take advantage of the situation because they had the ball, 2 minutes left. They were driving, throws an interception, and then the Jets were able to run away with it. So
okay.
And I don't think people are going to just let the Cowboys just come into the link and just beat them down like that.
Yeah, we can boil this analysis down to whoever scores the most points is going to win. Thank you.
Yeah.
And why are we not even talking about the Falcons, though? Why are the Falcons not even in this conversation as being a good team? Yet. And I'll tell you why. You know in your heart why, Nas, is because the Fairweather fans don't care.
No, they're going to win this week. Falcons are going to win this week, and they could win the division.
Because they play the Vikings without Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins got
right, but they could win this week, and they could still win the division.
Okay, I am bored. We got to move on. Listen,
we're talking football, Todd.
What do
you want us to talk about your scarf? Where'd you get the scarf from? Fine, Todd, go ahead.
We've lost. It must be. Hey, Todd, do you have any oil?
Is it cold in there? What is?
Yeah, do you have any oil heat?
Oh my gosh! Stop in the name. Look,
are you blushing? Are you blushing?
You want us to? I can send you a space heater. Do you need a space heater?
I was only
See,
joking
now can we go
about.
back to talking football then?
No, I was only
Right.
joking
Okay,
about
we're gonna
going to
keep
the
talking
game.
about you.
I was only joking about going to the game with you. I don't want to go to no games with you, and I think you have cheap seats. James is coming into town anyway, so I'm really busy. I just was making a joke.
James,
I'll take one
who
of
is
those.
James?
I'll take one of
Who is
those cheap
James?
seats.
Oh, a friend of mine lives in Florida, is coming to Philly Friday and
That's too much information,
back
Todd.
Monday.
Okay,
Came
You're
up.
the one
about
that
your
asked.
personal life. All right, you said you wanted to go to the game. Now you don't want to go to the game.
No,
Stop
I
playing
was
with
just
our
joking.
emotions, Todd. Get it
If I
together.
was,
Go
you
ahead,
would have to
Stacey. I'm
buy
sorry.
3
I
tickets
digress.
if you want me to go to the game, and they can't be cheap.
Nah,
Hey,
I'm not
next
gonna pay you
weekend
to
I'm
go to the
going.
game, Todd.
Huh?
Okay, I'm stopping this. You all won't stop.
I don't
Next
allow my
weekend I'm
guests
going
to
to the Gaza
pay when they
Strip
come
for a
into
week.
town.
I'm going to the Gaza Strip for a week. I'm
Okay, so
out to
excuse
Laguna.
me. I want you all to stop. Thank you. Tragedy is unprecedented in the Gaza Strip, the UN organization says after a trip to the area. Keith, some Americans were able to make it out through to Egypt, as well as some Palestinians to get help. There are more supply trucks going into Gaza, but today they bombed another area. Israel bombed another area um, where a lot of
A
civilians
refugee camp.
refugee camps. So, you want to comment on how we can stop this?
Well, if I tell you what, if Hamas suddenly says, "Okay, we're going to surrender and give and move all of our bases, all of our military bulwarks from populated areas of non-combative civilians," then yes, we can talk about a solution. But as long as they build their works, their missile sites, or wherever they and their tunnels, they build them under cities, they build them under hospitals, they build them under schools and libraries everywhere that you would find non-combative civilians. That's where Hamas is. So Israel has a very difficult task ahead of them.
Mhm.
I like the fact that in the beginning of this, they dropped leaflets saying, "Get out of Dodge, we're going to blow this place up." So that gave people a chance. However, the terrorists would not allow the Palestinians to leave. I'm talking about the innocent civilian population. They wouldn't let them leave, and they wouldn't let Americans leave. So it's going to be a
And
tough
so,
battle.
so what
It's
do
going to be a
you
tough fight.
do if you're Israel? Kill the innocent people anyway?
Well, Israel are experts at this. They've been dealing with this for years. So I'm going to let Netanyahu is a great leader. And I think that's going to, I'm going to let them decide what to do on that.
Well, let me stop there, right there, and say that your views are your views individually. It doesn't necessarily, your views on Israel Hamas doesn't necessarily represent the views of Sporlitiks. They are your personal views.
All right.
Cousin Todd,
Well,
your
that
comment
is
on
already established since we started the show. I don't think
right, but I
anything
just
like
want to
Stephen and Keith.
reiterate.
Aguna doesn't think anything like. Okay.
Are you
Well,
saying
you
Aguna does
guys,
think a little bit like them?
Sometimes,
do you,
when he wants to make friends.
Stacey, does that apply to all of the people on the show or just me?
Does what apply to all the people on the show or just you?
Well, the statement that my views are not necessarily the views of Sporlitiks.
That applies to you. It applies to everyone here. Your views are Keith's views.
And
Okay.
everybody's views are their own views.
That's right.
So when it says on here, CNN.com, IDF says fighter jets struck Hamas complex and militants in the crowded camp. But the hospital director says at least 80 were killed, the majority women and children. Stephen, how do you justify that?
How do I justify it? I didn't have anything to do with it.
So how?
Okay,
What is
that's
your
okay.
comment
Move
about
on.
it?
But this is a war that they didn't want. This is a war they didn't ask for. This is a war that's been happening. Like I said before, people keep just punching you in the face every day, and you turn the other cheek. How many cheeks do you have? 1,000? Israel's been doing it forever, and it just seems like, just on the surface, it seems like these people just want to just beat them down, rape their women, and kill their children. And then when they try to go back and say, all right, we're going to do something about it, then everybody's like, no, we're mad at you. No, what the people did, that they went to a peace festival, and they shot up a bunch of people. They raped a bunch of people. They set people on fire. They cut babies' heads off. This is what they did. So when they did that, it's FAFO. You F around and you find out. So they get what's coming to them. But what I would like was what Keith said earlier. I'd love for the Hamas or Palestine, these beautiful people in Hamas, Iran, whatever. Everybody just give up. Say, hey, we're sorry. Give up all of the people that they took prisoner. Give all of them back and say, hey, we want to work with you on a two-state solution. We're sorry about what we did. The people that were ultimately responsible for the atrocities they committed, we will hang them publicly or cut their heads off. And we pray that you will accept us as decent human beings now, because we haven't been decent human beings. And let's all get along. Let's all get around in the prayer circle, and let's all get along now. Because those people that did that, I want the Palestine people to say, those people that did those atrocities, they're not with us, and we're sorry, and we'll help you kill them. That's what I want.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you, Aguna, or Todd, and then Aguna. Go ahead, Todd. I know you've been dying.
No, I wasn't. I just wanted him to stop talking because he's redundant. But we know that's what you want, but that's not going to happen. Surprise! So
I hate surprises, Todd.
So the Palestinians are innocent. They're not the terrorists. There's a terrorist group that did that, and they're holding the Palestinians hostage. So, what are you to do? Bomb them anyway? Or do you use restraint? Which I think they should use restraint, because too many innocent children and women are being killed, slaughtered. Now, I hated that the Hamas did that to Israel. 14,000 people? That was outrageous. But
it was 14,000. It was like 1,400.
What did I say? 14,000? 1400.
Hey, 1,000, 100 here, pretty much. Pretty soon you have a lot of people. Yeah, whatever.
Then you can't retaliate and kill a bunch of innocent people. Now,
they're not trying to kill innocent people. They're trying to kill Hamas, but Hamas hides behind innocent people. So innocent people are getting killed because they're a bunch of punks, because they're a bunch of wimps. And they hide behind women and children so they can say, oh, we're not doing this. Israel's bad. They're killing babies. They're killing, no, they're trying to kill you, but you hide behind the baby. That makes you the bad guy. So really, if you look at just on the surface,
Steven.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Steven, he lets you talk. And this
I'm mute.
Okay, so anyway,
and you got to sum it up, Todd.
I guess I will have to now. Look, Steve, this boy finds everything funny when it comes to Steven. I can't. Oh boy.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right, goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you can't
want
have
to
a
say
serious
something
conversation.
after Aguna finishes. I want to say one thing to Steven. After Aguna finishes.
You want to take away Naz's time. This is like
no,
ridiculous.
That's okay. Go ahead. Before we change topics, I want to say something to Steven, and that's it.
Okay.
All right. So, this is why we can't have a serious conversation about this topic, is because any type of a mention of Israel showing restraint, knowing that this is not a equal fight. They use terrorist tactics, they being Hamas, which is supposedly the democratically elected government of Gaza and the West Bank. They use these terrorist tactics because they are desperate. They're going up against a $1 billion army in Israel. I mean, make no mistake, Israel is and can level Gaza, level the West Bank. And it's funny because what Steven is talking about, he threw a lot of red meat out there, right? He's saying, hey, they need to come, they being the Palestinian people, need to rise up, overthrow Hamas, hold them to justice, and then go to Israel and say, look, we did this. Let's talk about the two-state solution. Mind you, if you understand this issue and topic, Israel has been encroaching in the West Bank, encroaching in Palestinian land, provoking certain actions from the Palestinian
people. For years and years
right?
and
For
years.
years. So, and you have to come in and bring both sides to the table. Yes, Hamas is hiding behind civilians. They're doing all this. But it's interesting how Keith wants to hold Palestine and Hamas to a higher standard than Israel. If you have a hammer, you can crush an insect, but it takes restraint to say, you know what, if we really are about peace, we need to lead the situation and not just say, hey, you know what, we were provoked. Now I'm just kill innocent people and blame it on, because what's happening is Hamas knows that they can't defeat Israel in a fair fight. They're using terrorist tactics. They also understand Israel. They know Israel is going to come in there and level the whole place. And that is going to bring more people to the table against Israel, which is what's happening. You're giving them what they want by attacking and killing all these innocent. The more babies that are getting killed in Gaza, the more women and children that are dying, the more the Arab world looks at Israel as the combatant and the one that's being aggressive. Because they can show constraint and actually, and again, if you want peace, you're going to have to look at both sides. I'm not saying the Palestinian Hamas is right, but coming from the U.S. perspective, and you heard Joe Biden talk about it, he was criticized for it, but when they talk about constraint, when they bring up ceasefire, and Netanyahu says, no, there is no ceasefire. We need to eradicate the enemy. But even people within Israel are saying, wait a minute, how are we going to level Gaza when we have our family members and everything in there? What's the strategy around, what's the negotiation? So
let me ask.
At the end of the day,
go ahead.
If Israel is the power that it is power in constraint, there's power in negotiation, knowing that you have the hammer to level everything. There's a perspective there that you can get what you want. Now, when you don't, and you allow the opposition to provoke you into a response, which they know when every rocket they fire, they know that Israel's going to come back with all kind of Iron Dome and fire and brimstone. They're counting on that. That's part of their propaganda. That's part of what they're doing. So to think that, oh my God, Israel's actually accomplishing things by leveling Gaza, I think that's naive at best.
But they want all the Jews. They want all the Jews to die. They're not going to stop until all the Jews die, and then they're going to come after the Christians. And some people on this show might be affected if that's happened.
Who is they? Who is they, Steve?
Iran, and all of their terrorist organizations that they support with American money. With American money.
I got to move on.
Because they're doing it right now, and they're in our country right now, and they're.
Okay, stop. I got to move on. This is a picture of an airstrike in Gaza.
If that was the case, they would have tried to do it. They haven't done it.
Not yet, because the borders are still wide open. They have reinforcements coming in.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the people who were.
I'm not making anything up. I'm telling you the truth.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to those who were killed and their families. I know there was an Al Jazeera reporter who was reporting on this, and he lost his wife and his children while he was reporting on this in Gaza. So it's a horrible thing. But we are with Israel. We have United States has no better friend than Israel. So let's not mistake that. Let's move on to gun control in America. I was trying to get Nas in, but somehow we lost him. Let's move on to gun control in America. Keith, I want to start with you. Do churches or should churches?
Me too.
Or should churches?
Click.
Yeah, it's not me. Should churches? Oh, Nas is back. Nas, did you want to comment on Israel and Hamas and your?
Nas was
you want to comment on
Israel
and Hamas on your opinion?
How come when we get into politics, you hear that noise?
I don't know. It's the CIA or FBI trying to shut us down.
Yeah, so ultimately, Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders, even the United Nations, have basically declared this genocide. We're looking at a situation where international law is being violated. The Geneva Convention is being violated.
No, it's not.
It's called it's called a thing, collective punishment, where you've decided that bad actors have done something and you're going to collectively punish a group for those things. This is a war crime. So what's being done is not only one of the worst things we're ever going to see in our own lifetimes, but to kind of add on top of that, like, this is something we really have to think about. This is a new day. We may see a tipping point in this situation because the propaganda and reporting on this has been so poor. And typically we take the side of whatever we're told from the Israeli spokesperson. But what's happened is, through international reporting, a lot of these stories get debunked, and these, really terrible stories that we hear about to get people's emotions involved, you find out that those things aren't true, and actually they're doing the barbaric things. So this is a terrible situation. This is really going bad for Joe Biden. I think this is going to stop him from ever having a chance of being reelected. Good luck winning Michigan without the Arab population in Dearborn, Detroit, and everywhere else who is calling the White House and calling their congressmen and asking for some type of answer about a ceasefire. And for Biden to say that's a no-go, to me, which is just the beginning of something that could be reasonable as far as a ceasefire. I think they need to take the next step. And go ahead.
So the question would be, first off, my question, and it could be to you, Nas, or anyone else, where is the Arab world in helping with relief, and especially with healthcare for the Palestinians?
Yeah, so the blockade stops any aid from getting in, and they determine when something is going to get in. We've had a declaration of war from the Arab world. We're seeing more countries speak up. Actually, South America has been the most vocal. They've removed their diplomats from Israel, condemned Israel at the UN, where we voted not to have the ceasefire go on. And again, this is a tipping point because we have worldwide news. We have access to more information than we used to. So when we're told these stories about human shields and things like that, when you're talking about a really small area and you have X amount of people per capita, there's actually nowhere to go. So when they tell them, hey, you guys better leave, we're going to bomb this area, there's actually nowhere to go, especially considering the first day of the invasion, when they bombed the people who were supposedly going to, seek refuge elsewhere. So that's where all of this gets really messy. And ultimately, we're going to have a one-state solution. I think that's the ultimate goal, to have full citizenship and rights for everybody within that nation, for what it used to be for 700 to 1,000 years before we got this thing that we have now, to where basically this is an apartheid state that is abusing and oppressing people. And of course, eventually those people are going to fight back. And when they fight back, they take that as a claim for more territory. So I don't think this can continue with the way conditions are. And the idea of, okay, the ceasefire happens and then everybody goes back to square one. Well, square one for them is apartheid. So, that's not a reasonable answer either.
It's not apartheid.
So this is going to get really heavy.
Let's talk. It's already heavy. I mean, I don't think it's going to get heavy. It's already there when you have Netanyahu saying there will be no ceasefire. And then you have Christopher Wray of the FBI of the United States saying because of this, they are getting warnings of all sorts of horrible terrorist attacks that can happen in the United States. How do we protect Palestinians and Jews in the United States, and especially on college campuses? Let's start with Cousin Todd and then Oguna.
That's a difficult one. I think people should be able to voice their opinions without fear of retribution. I had heard about companies wanting the names of people who were protesting against Israel so that they won't hire these people. I think that's wrong. This is America. People have a right to their own opinion. And I just don't want there to be wars at school. I don't know how you can prevent people from having opinions, and so I don't know what they're going to
No one
do
said
on
prevent them
campus.
from having opinions,
Well,
Keith.
when they
What they
voice
said
their
was
opinions, you call
there's
me
a difference
Keith.
between I know I was moving on to Keith, but if you want
Oh,
to be named Keith, we can call you Keith.
no,
That's no
ma'am.
problem. But my point is, no, you can't keep people from
Voicing their
voicing their
opinion.
opinions. What we can do is keep them from acting
Yeah,
on
they do.
hatred.
Yeah, they do
So,
keep
Keith,
people
how
from
do we
voicing
keep
their
them
opinion.
from acting on hatred? That's for you, Keith.
Well, let's see. We can prepare the people to overcome terrorism, and we do it through education and training. And that we should have been doing for years. I mean, that's what the founders gave us the Second Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Even if you're
There's a reason
insane,
they said that. The
even if
reason
you
that
have
they said that
mental health
is
issues,
the reason they said
No,
that
you can't have a gun.
is because it's self-evident because of what we are doing, what we see right now happening in Israel. I don't know if the people on this show are aware of this, but Israel since
no,
1949,
he never answered the question.
1949. Well,
47.
let me answer Stacy the way I want to answer, please. In 1949, when Israel was, or in 48 when they were established, but in 49, the legislature of Israel passed a law that it says here, and this comes from the American Thinker. I know that Nas doesn't like this publication, but I just wanted to share it with you all. Opposition against private ownership of firearms goes back to the founding of Israel. The second law, it says passed by the legislature, was confiscation of all firearms and ammunition from the people. The average citizen had no right to own any type of weapon. It says whatsoever. If he had been caught, they would have been jailed, and for years.
Okay.
Netanyahu, after October 7th, he found a way. I guess he basically said that he would, his government would loosen the restrictions on private gun ownership in Israel and expand the licensing of weapons for thousands of civilians. That is how you solve the problem as far as on the inside, the interior, just like in the United States. If people start,
thank you.
one more point, if people start attacking, if we get that kind of terrorism here, they know, and I'm sure they're aware, that there are people who are armed and trained. I'm talking about ordinary
Okay, thank you.
citizens.
All right, thank you. I've got to move on because it's already 8:30. We don't have that much time. You guys went on and on about nonsense about NFL and wasted time
Wasn't
for us to get into
but
the
just
serious
Stacy, to
stuff.
that point, wasn't that mass shooter armed and trained?
Yes, he
And
was.
insane.
Yes, he was, but he
So
didn't.
let's
Okay.
go on.
There were
Let's
no
go on
people
to
that were
gun and
armed.
That was
gun
my point.
control.
That
That was my
armed shooter
point.
was probably
That was my
So let's
a
point.
go
victim
on to
of
gun
the
control in
CIA,
America.
and
He was
they
trained.
produced the CIA probably produced him. He's probably an
Okay, let's
agent
go
of the
on to gun
CIA.
Well, of
control
course,
in
there's
America.
always an excuse,
Excuse
but he
me.
was armed and trained. Thank you.
But
Let's
nobody
go on
shot
to
him.
the gun control in
They should have
America.
shot him.
Should there be guns in churches? Let's
Armed
start
and
with
trained.
Keith and make it very quickly. Stephen, Aguna,
Yes,
Nas, and Todd.
I would say yes
And
for the reason. I'd say yes for the reason that I just stated, and it's right here in the Bible. Talked about the king. King gave permission for the
okay, thank you.
Israelites to be armed, and all of the people were
Okay,
armed.
Aguna.
But we have
Right
a
there.
constitution, don't we have a constitution to go against the king?
Yeah. No, Constitution is based on the Bible.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It sounds like you want a monarchy, though. You
All
want a
right.
monarchy, or
Okay.
you want a
No, it's not a
Stop
monarchy.
asking Aguna. Stop asking him questions.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And
What's
answer
the
the question.
question? What's the question, Stacy?
We can't
I'm
have
Oh,
a
you're
conversation.
killing me.
I was dealing with some hypocrisy
Guns.
over here. I'm sorry.
We can't have a conversation, Aguna. We
I'm
can't
sorry.
Are
have a
we
Hey, look,
talking
conversation.
about
Keith,
the
she's asking the
commandments of?
question.
Excuse
Stop.
me. Excuse
Yes.
me. Are we talking about commandments or amendments? Or are we talking about guns in churches? Should there be guns in churches? Considering that we're seeing this lack of gun control. There are more guns in America than there are Americans. How do we control this?
Should there be guns in churches? Well,
We got more cars.
This is a tough one because at the end of the day, a lot of religions are. Now, if you're a Christian, don't you believe in turning the other cheek and anti-violence?
Thou
and
shalt not kill.
So
You can't turn the other cheek when you catch a bullet. When you catch a bullet in your cheek, you can't turn the other cheek.
Can I finish, please? Thank you. So-called Christians on this show who want to use violence and kill everybody. All right. At the end of the day, it's up to that individual religion. I know certain religions don't want any type of weapons around because, again, if you look at the Bible, and I'm not talking about the Old Testament, I'm talking about the New Testament. The reason there's a difference between the Old Testament and New Testament, right? The New Testament is because Jesus came back and had a New Testament with man. So he was like, look, all that fire and brimstone in the Old Testament,
a new covenant.
I'm not a new covenant, right? That we're not doing that stuff anymore. This is what you need. You need to look at the Beatitudes. Look at the things that we do to our neighbor. Love one another. In fact, there was only one time.
This is like Todd talking about sports.
Please, can I finish? Can I finish? Please, thank you. There's only one time that Jesus lost his temper in the New Testament. It was when the selling of indulgences in the temple. He got mad because people were profiting off his word, and they were profiting off his father's word. So they were bastardizing the Testament. And so he came in there selling indulgences, selling sacrifices, and he flipped over all the merchant stuff. He's like, get out my father's house. He chased them out, right? Just like people on this show bastardize the Testament, and they use certain script.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
To the benefit of man. And that's what Jesus was against. So for the hypocrisy, hypocrites on this show, and you know who you are, we are watching you and we know what you're doing.
I'm watching Stacey, and I'm going to see how quick she cuts Stephen off.
There's nobody.
You got to the rest of the end of the show, Stephen. Go ahead.
One of the people that I really respect when it comes to religion is Keith, and I think it's a real insult. It's a real insult for you to say something about Keith like that, Aguna. That's a real insult. And I'm serious about that because wait a minute. He's a true believer, and he's a humble. I can't even. I don't want to go in that with you. I'm just saying.
Deal with the question, Stephen.
All right, look. Yeah, okay. All right, I will. I will. In colleges right now, colleges are teaching people to hate Jewish people. Colleges are teaching people to hate Jewish people. So
no, that's not true.
Oh yes, it is. And there's people that are teaching people. There are people that are in their schools being harassed because they're Jewish, and people who are for Palestine are harassing them and like torturing, like trying to do things to them. Look, it doesn't matter. It's because
he's reading something off the dark web.
No, what I'm saying is, if you want to carry people right now, everybody on this show, if you can have it in your state, carry weapons on you. Don't listen to anybody else. Carry weapons on you. You need this right now because the times are that bad. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. Right. You got to do it legally. But what I'm saying is, if you should be able to go into a church, because people, Islamists are going to be shooting up synagogues and churches. So if you have guns, shoot them back out the door. Shoot them out the door. Carry your gun, Stacey. That's what I'm saying. Because there's people who want peace, and there's people who want everybody dead, and they're Islamists.
Julio.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just waiting.
All this hate speech.
You can't wait. You have to start talking.
You know you're a passive aggressive.
Why? Stop saying
You're gonna drown. You're gonna drown in the truth. You're gonna drown in the truth, Lagoon.
You said Islamist. I mean, come on.
That's right. They're the ones who want to kill Jews and Christians.
All of them.
Christians and Jews do not want to kill Muslims or Islamists or anybody. We don't want to kill anybody, but they want to kill us. But we're the bad guy. Aguna, we're the bad guy. The Jews and the Christians are bad guys because we want to live and let live. How crazy is this world? How crazy is this world? Keith, can I get an amen?
I came from a
Steven,
Muslim country
Okay,
where they
thank
had a
you.
synagogue next to a mosque,
Close your legs, you
next
married
to a
man.
Catholic church, and they were all getting along. So I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you, Nas.
yeah. So just quickly, years ago, I got the chance to speak with Dick Gregory. Rest in peace to that brother. Great giant humanitarian. And this topic was being thrown around at the time, so I asked him about it, and of course he yelled at me, and he ultimately said, "If my God can't protect me in a house of worship, and I feel like I have to carry a weapon, then I'm not really a believer." And then he started doing that sound and getting real loud and yelling at me. But he was really adamant about not only faith as a reason for not only your belief system, but the idea that your God is much bigger than whatever topical thing that's going on in the news or something that's happening in the world, and that fear and God cannot exist in the same place.
Praise him and
Interesting.
her.
Can I say
Thank you.
something?
Now see how no. I got to move on. I'm out of time. But you see how Nas went. He made his point. It was succinct. He didn't keep going on and on and on and on and on. He made his point. But with this gun control is a problem. 2 were killed and 18 injured in Florida shooting. 1 person killed and 9 others injured in a shooting in Indianapolis Halloween party, and 15 people shot at a Halloween party in Chicago. We have to do something
You
about
didn't come
gun
to me.
control in America. This does not happen anywhere else. Go ahead, Cousin Todd.
Good. Now, Stephen and Keith will never discuss this psychopath that shot up those people. And he had guns. And I can remember years ago, I said to Stephen and Keith, you should be mentally evaluated before you get a gun. And of course, Stephen and Keith said, you should be mentally evaluated before you get a driver's license. And so this is the kind of stupidity I deal with. You should be mentally evaluated before you are able to get a handgun, number 1. Number 2, if you are mentally unstable and you check yourself into a mental institution, one thing that should happen is you should be asked, sir, do you have any weapons? The answer, yes. Sir, may we go and take your weapons? As they're going to court to get a judgment to take them. You're simply asking out of kindness. But the judge should order the police to go and retrieve, right in his house, retrieve all of his weapons because he is obviously mentally unstable. Now, Second Amendment, look at this demon. Stephen, close your legs, married man.
Yo, he got a scarf.
And a hat. He's the devil.
Anyway,
All right, Todd, we're out of time.
I am the devil.
You have gone
Look,
too long.
I am the devil. I'm Todd.
Oh my God! I think
I'm the devil.
I think we should all wear scarves the next time.
Oh, you all weren't on in the beginning.
Is that a scarf or an
asked,
ascot? Is that an ascot?
He asked, that's a scarf. He asked the question, who am I? Who am I when he first came on? And I said, What was that name again? Not Ted Bundy, but
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
No, but look. You could also say Hunter S. Thompson.
No,
that was another one with these
Dahmer.
glasses. Hunter S. Thompson.
No.
But look.
All right. Sorry, I gotta stop.
With
All
the
right.
glasses on.
Stacey, let me finish this.
Jeffrey
Look.
Dahmer.
But no, Napoleon Dynamite. So it could.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. We're out of time. I want to talk about in the roundtable. We have a lot to cover. A few articles from Keith. Keith, I don't know if we have time to cover all of them, but I do want to cover a few things we didn't cover in our regular agenda. One is we'll start with Keith, then Keith and Stephen, Nas, Aguna, Todd. One, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, says he spoke with Senate Republicans Wednesday about his controversial Israel-only aid package in an effort to gain their support. Let me show you this article. I want to talk about how he will fare making this type of gesture and not adding aid for places like Ukraine. So that's the first question. The second question would be about the Federal Reserve keeping the interest rate the way it was and how that's going to affect our inflation. And then thirdly, Keith can talk about his articles that he wanted to discuss. So Keith, I'm going to make you next to last because your articles have to come in. Stephen, first thing, the Speaker of the House, you see this article here by abcnews.com. It says Speaker of the House Mike Johnson today discussed his controversial Israel-only aid package to gain their support, telling them he wants to get additional aid for Ukraine passed, but the Israel aid will likely have to move through first and separately. Stephen.
Well, I don't want to give anybody aid. I don't want to give Israel aid. I don't want to give Ukraine aid. I don't give anybody aid. Our country's hurting right now. I want our people to get aid. I want the people of this country to get something, because we're giving all this money out. We're printing money, or we're taking tax money and everything else we're doing. I want our people to get something, because our people are hurting. And you know what's hurting the most? The people that I know that are the poorest people. They're getting hurt the most, and they're just desperate as can be. But we're taking all of this money and giving to Ukraine billions and billions and billions of dollars so their people can live good, and our people are not living as good. This is not cool.
Okay.
This isn't cool at all.
Stephen,
So I don't even want money for Israel, because Israel doesn't need our money.
Stephen,
Yes,
Stephen,
yes,
the next thing is the Federal Reserve and not raising the interest rates or keeping the interest rates the way they are, considering stubborn inflation in the United States. Were they wrong to do that?
No, they kind of have to do it right now, because things are, like I said, things are really hard on people that are just trying to make it. And this is the people I know. They're having a really hard time making it. If they raise interest rates again and everything is harder and money's harder to get and loans are hard to get, it's not helping right now. People, this country, these people that are not way up here wearing like camels across their neck and going and flying to the beautiful places in the world. There's people that are down below, millions of people.
He said wearing camels around their neck and flying to beautiful places in the world. He was talking specifically.
And I'm not begrudging anybody. I'm not begrudging anybody, because I hope everybody gets to be able to do everything that they do. I'm just saying that there's people that are really hurting, and they can't even, they eat rice and beans. They can't even afford rice or beans.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
No, I'm not talking about me. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. I can go to Dubai. I can wear a camel. I can put a real camel around my neck. I can put an actual camel around my neck. Yes, I'll worry about people that are in pain.
Liberal alert. Liberal alert. Okay, go ahead. Yes. What's the question?
Cut off.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to go to Todd, and then I'll come back to you, Aguna.
Why? What did I do?
Go ahead, Cousin Todd.
The first. Okay, go ahead.
I think the interest rate should stay the same, because people are trying to buy houses right now. And if the interest rate goes up, then some people are going to be jacked. I know 3 people that are buying houses right now, and they're looking for houses, and they want the interest rates to stay the same.
They can still go up. If you buy a house, it'll still go up, even though they didn't move the prime rate. It can still go up, because it doesn't. That is not a direct correlation there. So
yeah, but they'll work with you. People will work with you.
Okay.
No, we're talking about the prime rate in which companies are lending money. It doesn't necessarily trickle down to consumers.
The Speaker of the House, he nobody really knows who he is yet, but I'm getting to that. But he is showing who he is, because when you want to split this thing up, now what is the purpose of splitting it up if you intend to give Ukraine the money, just not today? We'll give it to them next week, but we'll give it. That doesn't make any sense. You're going to give both countries the money. Let's do it now and get it over with. What are you going to wait? A month, 6 months, and then give it?
Thank you.
It's silly. They need it now. If you're going to give it now, or say we're not giving them any money.
Yeah, so for all these people on here talking about don't give this people money, do you even know what the aid is? Do you even have a breakdown of what that means? Because there's military aid and there's humanitarian aid, and all of that goes in the form of contracts to U.S. companies to provide these goods and services, right? So this is nothing more than just a shuffling of the deck, if you would, when it comes to this money. They're not taking one blank check, $1 billion. Here, Ukraine, do whatever the hell you want to do with it. No, it comes in the form of things that we are injecting into our economy to influence theirs. So this whole notion of, hey, don't give nobody anything. Okay, you're actually hurting U.S. jobs by saying that, because this goes to it's going to our companies to provide that stuff. Look it up. I don't have to make this up. I've been part of that whole deal making process. So anyway, now when it comes to this interest rate, this is where people have to be careful. It depends on inflation. I mean, if right now the Fed is saying that inflation isn't getting out of control, so they're going to keep it steady. And again, when they say don't raise interest rates, that doesn't mean the interest rate on your house is going to go up. As soon as they raise the interest rate, it doesn't mean it's going to go up. It doesn't mean it's going to go down either. It's based on what lenders want to lend you the money. It has no direct. Now, if you look at how the bank itself makes money and hedging its bet against bonds, bottom line of it is, just because the Fed doesn't move interest rates doesn't mean it's going to make it easier for you to buy a house, right? Or it doesn't mean, because we're in a point in this country where house values are going up because of inflation and other things, and the cost of and the interest rates have gone up. So people, and that means that there's a very small segment of the population, previous homeowners, who are driving the housing market because they have an existing home or they have some equity that they need to. So at the end of the day, inflation is what's the driver. And right now, our economy is just doing too well. We're at a point where we're making a lot of money, we're providing a lot of services, we're doing all these good things, and salaries have gone up. So goods are going up, and that's what inflation is about. So the Fed has to raise interest rates to slow that down. So it's important for you to know that dynamic, though. So it's not like, hey, but companies love to use the interest rate in order to say whether or not they're going to hire, fire, and all this other stuff. So that kind of drives that aspect of it.
Thank you, Julio.
So for the second question about the funding, basically we are pot committed already. So the funding has to continue. To explain that in an easier way, let's say you're 2 payments away from paying off your car, and you and your wife decide, you know what, we ain't paying that no more. Let them come take the car. Well, they could come and take your car, and you only had 2 payments left when you could have just kept paying because you were already pot committed. So similar thing with this. We've already put so much money into this now. To let the project fail would basically be setting all that money on fire. To the previous thing, the inflation story. Ultimately, this is the story that is being driven in the wrong direction. Inflation is a problem and does have to be addressed, but the bigger issue is greedflation. That would be corporations who are not only charging us more for less as far as products. The things that Americans are actually complaining about are the things that hit them in their daily life, commodities. So the price of gas, heat, electricity, water, their water bill, all of the things that they have to pay. Those are the things that are stressing Americans, not the things that inflation kind of entails, the things that Guna was getting into, the big scale things. The smaller scale things are the things that have to be addressed. And again, one party did put that bill up a year ago to address companies and say, hey, we're going to make sure people aren't getting price gouged in the market. And the other party decided not to vote for it. And here we are.
And, when you say that, I think about the worker in Detroit who works for the car manufacturers, and he doesn't make enough money, and he has to buy his family expired food cans, canned food expired. But yet the CEOs of those major Michigan car manufacturers make millions and millions of dollars.
How do you change that, Stacey? You can't change that. You can't change that.
The enforcement of it means an expansion of government, which people are against. It means more regulations. It means more investigation into price gouging. And one party is against any nature of that because it stifles capitalism. We're built on capitalism.
And just like Stephen said, what can you do about it? You're just stuck. So just deal with it.
Just stuck. There's no way to change that. Those parties. There's only one party.
There's ways to change it.
We've done
wait a minute. Excuse me. Everybody can't hear you. One person. And now it's time for Keith. We're out of time. Keith, your comments on the articles you wanted to discuss.
Well,
that
the
you brought
articles that I
forward.
want to discuss is real quick. One of them I already mentioned, and that was about the opposition, to Israel Israeli citizens having guns. Here's something in addition to it. This is what I wanted to discuss real quick, and it's not going to take long. I wrote it down because Nas, referred to something that I know quite well. This is my area, so I need to respond to it. He talked about the biblical aspect, and Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory made that statement, but he was wrong. As a Christian, I just want to say this for the sake of those who might be listening, not necessarily for those who are on the show, because I know what their belief system is, except for Stephen. Other than Stephen. Anyway, I said,
believe in Allah?
Oh, I guess I got him going here.
Will you just let him to come to the point?
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Well, he said he knows what our belief system is. That's not true.
I'm sorry.
I don't care. Just come to the point.
All right. In the Bible, in Luke 22, chapter 22, you guys can look it up yourself. Luke 22 and verse 39, Jesus is talking about, he said, Jesus is speaking. It says, prepare the people. He's talking about preparing the people to overcome their enemies. And the enemies were about to arrest Jesus. He was about to be arrested for his belief system. So Jesus asked his disciples, he said, when I sent you to preach the good news.
Point. Just come to the point. You can't read the whole thing. It's not enough time. You have to come to the point.
Let him go.
If I can just read it, I'll come to the point.
Go ahead.
The point is, Jesus, this is the point right here. Jesus asked his disciples, when I sent you to preach the good news and you were without money, duffel bag, or clothing, extra clothing, how did you get along? The disciples answered, we did fine. We were provided for. But Jesus said, now take a bag and your money, and if you don't have a sword, sell your clothes and go and buy one. The master said, they said, we have 2 swords. And he said, that'll be enough. So I rest my case. They didn't have guns back then, certainly not an AR-15, but they had swords. So I think had they had guns back then, Jesus would have said the same thing as he is saying today to the church and to his believers.
The sword was the word of God. The sword was a metaphor for the word of God. The sword.
Okay, excuse me.
He was a metaphor for the word of God.
No, it was no metaphor. No metaphor.
He was talking to Nas, and I don't understand what the comment was to Nas based on Nas talking about his interaction with Dick Gregory. So what was your comment to Nas, and what was Nas supposed to respond to?
Well, Nas, I was saying because he told us about, Nas told us that Dick Gregory told Nas that he didn't have to have a weapon, a gun in church because God would take care of him. So I'm responding to that.
And he's saying,
thank you. So what's
Jesus
Nas's
said you
response?
should have a weapon.
No, you can't have any response. He just got biblically body slammed.
That was not a metaphor. That was not a
so
Aguna,
it was a mortal man trying
that
to
was not a metaphor.
God's word.
No.
Aguna, Nas is trying to talk.
Which is what Jesus warned us about.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Warned us about false prophets.
Julio, go ahead, Julio. What is your response?
Yeah, I don't have much to say to Aguna and to Cousin Todd and to Stacy. Spending time and speaking with the great Dick Gregory was a beautiful thing. I respect that humanitarian civil rights activist who did way more for people than any other human that I've ever interacted with. So salute to that brother and rest in peace to him.
Okay, that's it. We are out of time. I'm so glad because
can I just say a fun fact, Stacy?
Yeah.
Can I say fun fact? Between the time of 2000 and 2021, there were 433 mass shootings. 3% of those were prevented by a private citizen. Again, so out of the 433, 3% were actually, and then they weren't even prevented. It were just they were given a situation where the private citizen could actually fire back. So think about that. When you think about all the mass shootings that happen, if we inject more and more guns, maybe that 3% will move to what? Maybe 4%? If we're lucky.
Think about if somebody breaks into your house and you have a bunch of guns.
Please, time out.
Think about if somebody breaks into your house.
Even with police, to get a tactical. There's something called a tactical advantage, and in these mass shootings, especially if they're trained and armed, they have a tactical advantage just given the fact that they have the nature of surprise. And it's very hard for you to pull out a gun, find a target, get down. Okay, I understand it doesn't really happen. And that's indicative of that statistic. Out of 433 mass shootings, only 3% in which a citizen could actually re-engage the shooter.
I would like to see what you looked at, because I don't believe what you're saying.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to
Not
you.
true.
Hey, Cousin Todd.
It is
Not
true.
true. Stephen.
Google it. Google it. No,
It's
I'll tell you what.
Stephen.
YouTube, Google it. Google it.
I will.
Google
Stephen.
mass
I'll get
shootings
you the
prevented
information.
by private
All right.
citizens to see what percentage comes up.
I'll get you the information.
I bet
Stephen.
you,
I'll get
and if
the
it comes up what I just said, Stephen, you got to shave your beard. You got to shave you shave your beard and make take your mullet that you have, and I'm gonna make turn it into a bookmark.
That's not correct, Stephen.
Okay.
It's not correct.
All
Don't worry.
right. All right. All right. All right. Some things in the Bible, Keith,
Listen to the echo chamber.
some things in the Bible are parables, Stephen and
That's
Keith.
not a parable.
What do you know about the Bible? You can't quote the Bible to us to talk about the Bible, Todd. Todd, you're in no position to talk about the Bible to Keith and I.
Is married.
Hey, you're in no position.
Close your legs to married men.
You're in no position to talk to us about the Bible, Todd. You need to go on to talk about sports.
Look, Keith, you like that little joke, huh?
Jesus said
Jesus
said you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That's what Todd knows about the Bible.
Thank you to our first responders in our community. To our first responders in our community. To our first responders in our community, you make our lives livable. Thank you. Thank you to the women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do in sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose on this show. We are forever indebted, even though Julio thinks I should say something different. On behalf of Aguna, the Nigerian model Republican, Keith.
Beat down.
Go Eagles. I got Eagles big. I'm still taking Eagles.
The independent thinker, Julio. Thank you for joining us. I can't believe you didn't have much to say today.
And cousin Todd.
And my cousin Todd.
Look at that scarf, that camel.
It is cool, man. Hey, imitation is the most serious form of flattery. Sorry. I was just talking about imitation and all that.
My name is Stacey Johnson. Let's keep this conversation going on Instagram, X, Twitch, TikTok. You'll see Stephen going a little nutso. Stephanie Stallworth, The Flow Television Network. And did I forget anything else?
Probably, but I forgot some stuff tonight too. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in this world.
Woo. You guys are too much.
You're a mess.
It was a good show. I think it was a good show.
Yeah,
I like it. Good when you guys are always good. But you got to let people finish their point.
Yes,
you got to sum it up. You guys seem to be going too far.
It seems like he's drinking vodka all the time.
You know what? I drank vodka when I was 21. I had a limousine, and I drank about probably half a gallon. And I got really sick for about 3 days. I threw up so much on the side of my waterbed that we had to cut out all the carpet on that side. So I never drank vodka again. And it pretty much turned me off alcohol altogether.
70s?
I want to ask Nas. Excuse me. I want to ask Nas.
That was the 80s.
Nas, why were you so quiet tonight, Nas? How come you were so succinct in your comments and didn't, extrapolate more?
He might have COVID.
I choose not to engage in stupidity and.
Well, I mean, Guna's kind of.
So he never talks to himself.
Guna's kind of spoken for me, but no, it's a form of discipline. Like you make a decision and say, I'm not going to engage in certain things, and you just do that. And what you find is those things can't hold up on their own merit. They actually need something to bounce off of. And if you leave them alone and just let them bellow out nonsense, you see how ridiculous they are.
No, we got the truth on our side. I don't know what y'all have, man.
You're saying you did that to make everyone else who was talking too long make it more obvious that they didn't have to talk.
No. Stephen and Keith specifically, need oxygen for their nonsense to turn into a fire.
But
if they don't get
he had no rebuttal. He had no rebuttal. So he's making excuses for that, Stacey. He has no rebuttal. He can't argue any point.
It is the saying.
You see what happens?
The more you talk, there's a saying, the more you talk, the dumber I get.
Indeed.
Well, maybe you started off dumb. It has nothing to do with anybody else.
Can you feel my brain is just going, see, the more you talk, it's just
but Stacey, real quick, if you don't mind, there is something I did want to add to the show. And
finally
the recording is done. So I still wanted to add it just for everybody. This is Ben Gurion, the first leader of
we're
Israel.
recording. It is still recording.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just read this very quickly. I'll get out your way. So this is an interview with Nahum Goldman. This is before Gurion died. He said, Gurion declared, "I don't understand your optimism. Why should the Arabs make peace? If I was an Arab leader, I would never make terms with Israel. That is natural. We have taken their country. Sure, God promised it to us, but what does that matter to them? Our God is not theirs. We come from Israel, it's true, but 2,000 years ago. And what is that to them? There's been anti-Semitism from the Nazis, Hitler, Auschwitz, but was that their fault? They only see one thing, that we have come here and stolen their country. Why should they accept that? They may perhaps in a few generations forget the moment, but for now, there really is no chance. So it's simple. So we have to stay strong and maintain a powerful army. That's our whole policy. Otherwise, the Arabs will wipe us out. And the gentleman asked him, how can you sleep with that prospect in mind? And the Prime Minister Ben Gurion said, who says I sleep? So that's Ben Gurion talking about the situation. And we see what that has brought years and years later. The same military confined situation that is, again, declared apartheid by Amnesty International, United Nations, and also Doctors Without Borders.
But it's not apartheid. The Jewish people want to live in peace. Israel wants to live in peace. Israel wants to live in peace. Israel wants to live in peace, and Hamas does not want to live in peace. They want to kill every Jew. From the river to the sea, they want to kill every Jew. So every Jew is like, you know what? We've had enough of this garbage over the centuries, over the millenniums. We don't want to deal with it anymore. So you know what? If you want to kill us, you're the bad guy. Because we've offered, Israel's offered on a two-state solution many, many times, but they'd never won it because all they want is 5 times. Thank you, Keith. But the Palestinians want the Jews to die. They want them to die.
Why are they?
They want them to die.
Don't ask any questions. If you make
it's like if Todd leaves me alone, if we're next door neighbors, and he leaves me alone, we're cool. If he keeps attacking me every day, eventually I'm gonna fight back.
Why are they encroaching? What are the settlements about? Why are they?
Hamas is running. Hamas is running the show. Hamas is a bad guy, not the Jews. It's Hamas.
You're not answering the question.
What is the question?
The question is, why are they encroaching in the West Bank?
Don't ask
They want a
question.
two-state solution.
I said, don't even ask them a question. I don't know
why
why.
They've been wanting a two-state solution, but they never got resolution because of the.
Okay, go ahead, Cousin Todd.
Okay, I was going to make